The Umbrella Academy Season 2. Quick spoiler warning for Season 1. I am going to spoil the ending of Season 1, so if you haven't seen it, you should go and see that. Right, so we meet up with the gang, and they have not saved the world from the apocalypse. All they've done is they've jumped with fives to another time. It just so happens that they've jumped to around about 1960, and I say around about 1960 because they don't all land at the same time. They come in drips and drabs. Some of them have been there for like a year, 6 months, something like that. Some of them have been for a couple years, 3 years, that kind of thing, and have actually genuinely built up a life for themselves. Fives is the last to arrive, and he arrives to a nuclear holocaust. He arrives to the end of the world again, but this time in 1963. He has to go and find his siblings to figure out what happened to make the end of the world come at that time. Alright, so just a heads up, I didn't like the ending of the story. I didn't. I'm going to do my best not to spoil anything on Season 2. I gave you a quick synopsis as to what to expect on this story. Everything that I've explained kind of gets explained within the first 5-10 minutes of the season. So, as I've kind of explained the story, I don't feel like this story was original. It feels very unoriginal. It feels like it's Season 1 just rehashed with the same characters in a different time period. Because of the storylines I saw, I kind of predicted what was going to happen in the end of the season back in like episode 5. It wasn't very difficult to kind of put the pieces together, and I kind of felt like the characters weren't paying enough attention to basically put it together themselves. They had the information. They make it known that they've got the information. I just don't see why they didn't. I would say the saving grace from a story perspective is the bad guy who we've met before and the new character who you will meet. The story of those characters, mainly the new character, is probably the thing that I found very interesting and the most interesting about this series, along with Vanya and her character arc. So from a story perspective, it's just passable, 5 out of 10. I didn't feel like it was a strong story at all, and the only reason it gets passable is because of the villain and their motivation along with the new character. However, so this is probably the best part of this season. I believe that it is very similar to Season 1 in that all the characters are apart and then they have to come together. I found it very interesting now that we knew the characters and where they had kind of come from, what they would then make of themselves while they were on their own in this new time, in this new age. It was very interesting and I really enjoyed seeing it. The story arcs were really good. I really enjoyed them. I really enjoyed Luther's, Diego's, Fives. Klaus was fun, it was okay. Ben's was really good. But probably your two strongest was Allison and Vanya. Their story arcs were truly great. Those are the ones that I watched and navigated towards. I thought they were absolutely fantastic. If I didn't know any better comparing the story and the script, I would have said that the creators basically said, alright, we're just going to use the same story, same character, same everything, but we're just going to really hone our skills on developing these characters to build up for the next seasons. If that's what they did, great, full marks, but your story did truly lack. The only problem I have with the script is, as I said with the story, is the ending. I feel like the ending went very quickly. I don't think the characters had a lot of time to kind of comprehend what was going on. You get an episode where they're basically saying goodbye and having to prep and that kind of thing, and that was good and great, but then they left and it was kind of like, okay, so they just upped and left and that's it. And I feel like there could have been more grounded nuance to the way that the story ended, and when they end it and they get to where they need to go, it's almost like a relief. Oh, okay, now we can forget about that, when it should have been, okay, well, that experience changed me. That might come up in future seasons, but I didn't feel like there was this groundedness in the ending. Again, on the villain, really good. I really didn't like them. I thought they were despicable and left me seething with anger at times. It was truly, truly good writing in that perspective. As I said, it's probably the strongest part. It's still probably only gonna get a 4 out of 5 for me. As a series about comic book characters who have superpowers, this series requires good CGI work with their superpowers and everything around them. I feel like this series did well with most of it. There were a couple of moments where I said, that was fake. That body didn't have any physics going on it. It just went and it was fine. But it mostly brought me back. Most of it was top quality CGI. I think the fight scenes were really good, especially with Fives and his power. There is a scene when he is wielding an axe, which is truly, really, really cool. Really enjoyed it. With the music, like in that scene, the music was phenomenal. But in other places, the music wasn't 100% correct in my opinion. I feel the music a couple of times took me out of the scene rather than drawing me in. And sometimes there was too much. Maybe they could use less sound and use the vacuum of empty sound be something that draws you in. I thought the acting was really good, just in general, with special mention of Ellen Page and Marin Ireland. I think they were phenomenal. They were probably the two favorite parts in their relationship with the two characters that I saw and liked the most out of this series. I'm going to have to go and give this, I was umming and ahhing between 3 and 4 out of 5. Probably going to go more for 4 because I feel like I'm giving this series, this season, a benefit of the doubt. So despite all my problems with the story, I still really enjoyed this season. It has problems, glaring problems for me, but I really enjoy it. I think the characters are great, the way they write them, they know these characters, they know how to portray them, so you can see their faults, like them for their faults, but see how they are going in their lives and how they're basically trying to make it in this new time, in this new world. This season doesn't shy away, however, from pressing issues, both in our society now and the society back then. It gives a grim and depressing shot of what life was like in 1963 and what life is like now. And there is a line when Allison is talking to someone who she's very close with in that time, where she's saying the fight that they are fighting in 1963, they are still fighting in 2019. It's still better, but it's still going on, and it's very important. I want to point out that I didn't feel like this season was being preachy. There were a couple times where they might have felt a little, but this felt very organic in the way they were getting their message across. It didn't feel like it was just shoehorned in there because they feel like this needs to be said. It does need to be said, but it was done in a good, artistic, well done way. I've said it, the ending was where this completely derailed for me. I didn't feel that big oomph at the end. Like at the end of season 1, I was left shocked. I was like, okay, I want to see where this goes. In this, it's like, oh, okay guys, come on. What are you doing now? There's this big reveal and I don't feel anything for it. I know it's supposed to be big because you're acting like it is, but there seemingly was no build up. The ending for me was predictable. I predicted it back in episode 5 and it just wasn't for me. So something happens to one of the characters and I felt like it was a good story arc. They should have ended the story arc right there and then, but they seem to be dragging it out a little bit more and bringing it back, and I don't think it is a good decision. However, they are the creators. I'm trusting them. They've done well up until now. It is my perspective that what they've done is wrong. However, they might have plans for season 3 where it is better and they can use the character and his character arc that it is relevant and good for the story. One thing I do not like, however, is leaving things open-ended, and I felt like this season ended openly enough to not feel completely satisfied. Overall, I'm giving my enjoyment 19 out of 30. It's just not 20, it just doesn't crack that nod, but I still enjoyed most of what they offered, but the ending left a sour taste in my mouth, and that ending is so important. So my final score was 32 out of 50. Let me know, guys, what do you think of Season 2 of Umbrella Academy? Leave a like and leave a comment. If you want to have a discussion, let me know. We can talk. Thanks, guys.